The truth we bury. The town of Elmridge was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's secrets or thought they did. Nestled in the quiet folds of wooded hills and stitched together by rusted railway lines, it bore the gentle decay of places that progress had long since passed over. Storefronts wore their age like old war medals, faded paint clinging stubbornly to brick and wood. Children grew up, left, and rarely came back. Those who stayed learned quickly how to live with ghosts. Jonas Reed was one of those who stayed. A high school history teacher, he lived a life of pattern and politeness. Coffee at 6:15, class by 8, papers graded by the soft lamplight of his modest study. He spoke with measured calm, smiled with a slight dip of the head, and never raised his voice. But beneath that quiet surface was a man hollowed out by grief. 20 years ago, Jonas's younger brother Caleb had been convicted for the murder of Mary Ann Thatcher, the mayor's daughter. Her body was found at the bottom of the old Bradford. Well, her neck broken, bruises on her arms. The case was swift. Caleb was arrested within a week, the evidence damning. Fingerprints on her scarf, a torn piece of his hoodie near the well, a witness who claimed to have seen them arguing that night. Caleb cried innocence until the end, but no one listened. 5 years into his sentence, he was stabbed during a prison riot, an altercation he hadn't started. He died in the infirmary, his last letter to Jonas barely legible through dried blood. Jonas kept that letter in his desk drawer, reading it once a year on the anniversary of his death, the ritual and anchor against a tide of hopelessness. The years numbed him, but never erased the certainty. Caleb had been framed. Jonas had lived with that weight quietly, until a former student, Emily Tran, now a data analyst, reached out after hearing him mention Caleb in passing. "Mr. Reed," she said, pushing up her glasses during a Zoom call. "I was bored one night and dug into the case. Some of the data doesn't add up." She showed him inconsistencies, time-stamped logs that contradicted the prosecution's timeline, lab results with missing chain of custody records, witness statements that had been altered. The camera lingered on her concerned face for a few moments before she added, "It feels wrong, like someone wanted it buried." The pieces began to shift. Jonas became consumed. He stopped shaving, missed classes. Students noticed the change. His lectures, once passionate, grew distracted. One morning, he showed up to school in mismatched shoes. The principal pulled him aside, but Jonas waved off the concern. He began sneaking into county archives, bribing clerks for old case files with gift cards and bourbon. It was in one of those dusty boxes beneath a folder mislabeled Municipal Infrastructure Budget that he found the name that changed everything, Walter Price. At the time of the investigation, Walter had been a junior officer assigned to the case. Now, he was Judge Walter Price, known for his no-nonsense demeanor and spotless record. Jonas remembered Walter, charming, ambitious, close friends with Mayor Thatcher, too close. Jonas didn't seek revenge through violence. He believed in the power of truth, even if it came wrapped in pain. He contacted Mara Ellis, a true crime podcaster known for her deep-dive investigations into cold cases. She was hesitant at first. "You sure this isn't just grief-twisting memory?" she asked. Her voice held the kind of practiced neutrality that came from interviewing hundreds of devastated people. "I've lived with both," Jonas said, "and I know the difference." They worked together. She used her platform. He provided the evidence. Anonymous tips, old interviews, digital reconstructions. The podcast, Buried Wells, launched a little fanfare, but by the 4th episode, after playing a grainy recording of a panicked 911 call, never entered into evidence, it had over 500,000 downloads. Walter Price felt the heat. So did Jonas. His car brakes failed on a rainy Thursday. He barely survived, waking up in a hospital bed with 2 broken ribs and a fractured collarbone. The police called it mechanical failure. Jonas called it a message. Then came the letter. "Stop digging. Caleb wasn't innocent. You think you know the story, but you don't. Drop it before you find something you wish you hadn't." The envelope was unmarked, the ink smeared at the bottom. It smelled faintly of gasoline. Mara wanted to back off. Sponsors were pulling ads. She was receiving threats. But Jonas couldn't stop. In a sealed court transcript, he found testimony never presented at trial from a nurse who had overheard Mayor Thatcher arguing with Walter Price in the hospital chapel 2 days after Caleb's conviction. "You told me it would disappear," the mayor had said. "Now it's on my conscience, too." Jonas confronted Walter, showing up at his courthouse office late one gray afternoon. The air smelled like paper and polish. Walter's hands trembled when he saw the man at his door. He offered no denial. "It was supposed to protect everyone," Walter said. "Your brother was there. He fought with her. But he didn't kill her. Her father did. In a rage. I covered it up. We all did. Caleb was expendable." Walter promised to come clean, but before he could, he was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. 2 months later, he was dead. No obituary mentioned the scandal. The package came 2 weeks after Walter's funeral. Photos of the mayor at the crime scene, bloodied and wild-eyed. A confession letter. A sealed envelope, marked for the district attorney. It arrived in a plain manila envelope. No return address. Jonas and Mara went public. The state reopened the case. Caleb was exonerated posthumously. The mayor, already dead from a heart attack the previous year, was revealed as the real killer. Elmridge did not cheer. They recoiled. Why dig up ghosts, they said. Why ruin a legacy? Jonas was fired. His house was vandalized. Someone slashed his tires. Children threw rocks at his windows. Once, someone left a dead bird on his doorstep. He left town in the fall, settling in a quiet cabin deep in the hills outside Elmridge. The silence was thick, but familiar. He spoke to Mara occasionally. She had moved on to a new case, but her final episode of Buried Wells ended with these words. Sometimes, the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes, it just sets things on fire. But in those ashes, if you look closely, you might see the shape of justice. Jonas sat on his porch, Caleb's letter in his hands. The words had faded, but the meaning was clear. Don't stop looking, Jonas. Even if no one wants you to, even if it costs you everything. He had obeyed, and he had paid. But in the silence of his exile, he finally found peace.